And so earlier today, the Lakers signed Dylan Windler, a 27-year-old 6'6" guard forward, to a two-way contract. They ended up waiving Alex Fudge. Now, Windler just set the G League record of rebounds with 33 rebounds. He had 23 points, 33 rebounds. He's shooting 38% from three in the G League. He looks good on both sides of the basketball. Did have some NBA stints. He was drafted as the 26th pick in 2019. He had 3 years with the Cavs, 1 year with the Knicks, kind of in spots. But this is a guy that has a lot of potential, is an older player, right? The Lakers like those kind of guys that could come in, right? Good IQ, good feel for the game. The idea is that he could kind of come in and be like a Josh Hart type guy. I think a Josh Hart, guard, forward, but rebounds like he's a center. I mean, he just had like a 15 rebound game. That's kind of the hope with him, that he could be a guy that could come in, provide some just quality minutes, right, on minimum minutes. The most he's had as far as like playing time goes is around 16 minutes. That was his first year in about 50 games, and he averaged basically 5 and 4 in that limited minutes, in those limited spots, right? Like that's kind of how the Lakers are looking at it. Is like this could be a guy that could come in and give you, say 5 and 5 in like a 10-minute span, right? He's got a good instinct for the ball, good nose for the ball. You go and track it down. But there's another reason why I think that this is worthy of like interest, right? Obviously, most look at it on the surface as like, hey, it's another G League guy. It sucks that they got rid of Fudge. I really liked Fudge, but okay, like they just added another two-way player. Like, what's the big deal? To me, this is a good sign. I'm not saying that this is, lock it in. But I do think that this is a very good sign that the Lakers are going to make a big trade. I still think it's going to end up being Zach LaVine. But I do think the sign of Dylan is, okay, Lakers have something coming. And why? Why, Tyler? Why do you think that? Well, let me explain. So let's say we'll use Zach LaVine, right? Because again, I think that's what's going to end up happening. But also, let's just use him, right? Just for an example, whether you like him or not, right? So if the Lakers trade for Zach LaVine, they're going to have to trade, more likely than not, some combination of like D'Lo, Rui, Gabe Vincent, and then you're probably throwing in like a Maxwell Lewis or Jalen Hood-Schifino or something along those lines, right? So let's say the Lakers have 4 players shipping out for Zach LaVine and let's say Andre Drummond, right? Let's say you get those 2 guys. So now you got your backup center, you got, Zach LaVine, and you shipped out 4 players. Well, the Lakers only have 14 guys on the roster. So you send out 4, that drops them to 10. You bring back 2, you're at 12. You have to maintain 14 players till the playoffs, right? You have a little time frame after a trade. I believe it's like 2 weeks you get to kind of like fill in those roster spots. But you have to do it, otherwise you get in trouble, you start getting fined and all kinds of stuff, right? So the Lakers at that point, maybe they make another like minor trade or something, right? Maybe they go get like a Miles Bridges or something. Again, just using guys, for example, that are like cheap and are rumored to be obtainable, right? So like, let's say they go do that, right? And they do another like little swap or whatever. Well, now you need to, if you have 3 open roster spots, right, to get to 15, you have to fill those, or you have to fill at least 2 of them. Right? So now, what do the Lakers do? Well, you obviously could go and between now and then maybe work on some 10 days, try to find somebody to bring in, but you're not signing 3 10-day guys. You can't even have that many, right? So you maybe get somebody in free agency, right? Maybe you could go and look into like G League or whatever, or the most likely option is you bring somebody that's on a 2-way up and give them a guaranteed contract. It's the easiest way, it's the quickest way, and it's something that you can kind of fill the void, right? And anybody that's going, whether it's Dmoi Hodge, whether it's, Dylan, whether it's Colin Castleton, right? Doesn't matter. I mean, maybe you bring up all three. I don't know. Because at that point, you just need bodies for the end of the bench, right? Because, again, let's stick with the Zach LaVine trade here. You would have LeBron, AD, Zach LaVine, Andre Drummond, Austin Reeves, Cam Reddish, Jared Vanderbilt, and then Christian Wood minimum, right? So there's 8 guys right there. You probably still have Jackson Hayes when all is said and done. So there's 10 guys there, or 9 guys there, right? Maybe if you keep Max Christie, there's 10. So the Lakers would have essentially 10 guys for the rotation at any moment. They don't need anybody else other than just bodies to fill out the roster, right? And maybe guys that can come in and play on the occasional night. Well, that's where a guy like Dylan, right? Windler can come in. He's 27. He has NBA experience. He's a good rebounder, so he fits a need. He can knock down the 3 ball, which fits a need. He can come in, kind of just play spot minutes where need be, but more likely than not is just a guy that's going to fill out the bench. Maybe they bring in a Dmoi Hodge. Maybe they bring in a Colin Castleton, whomever, right? But because my thing is like, okay, I get you really like Windler, right? And it's like, okay, well, we have Alex Fudge, you have Colin Castleton, you have Dmoi Hodge. Those are the guys that, are development guys. Alex Fudge we're looking at as a development guy. You bring in the older guy because you have the intentions of integrating him into the roster at some point. He's a guy that you see that goes, this is a guy that could fill a need. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it has to happen this season, right? Maybe they brought him in and they're like, hey, this is a guy we could bring in next season. But even then, if you do a major trade, the Lakers are going to be limited on just assets and players that they can sign, right? You're basically just vet minimum deals. So where do you get cheap value guys? Well, you get them amongst the G League, right? You get them amongst your two-way guys. So, now, right, like let's say we go into next season, right, and we have Zach LaVine and all that stuff, right? So now you need to fill out 3 or 4 guys. Maybe you find a vet minimum or 2, right? Maybe you find that guy that's coming in to just try to, make a name for himself, right? Maybe like a Porter Jr., right? Because all of his issues going on. Maybe you get somebody like that, and then you need to fill in another 2 or 3 spots. Well, okay, let's bring in Colin Castleton. Let's say Jackson Hayes leaves. Okay, well, we could use another set. Okay, Colin, you get up. We could use another shooter. Dmoi, you come up. We could use another guard, rebounder, things like that, perimeter guy. Let's say, what happens if Cam Reddish goes and gets a bigger contract? Okay, well, now you got this. Right, now you could bring in Windler. You get my point? That's why I think that that's the case. Now, again, the Lakers maybe look at a 10-day, bring in a guy. Maybe they bring in a center. Maybe they bring in a guard or a forward or something like that, right? There's definitely options there to fill guys in. But chances are the Lakers are going to have to fill multiple roster spots. It's not just going to be one or 2. It very likely will be 2 or 3 because they're going to have to get to 15 if they get to the playoffs the way that they're looking. Right? So, let's say you have 12 guys on your roster. Okay, let's say you go sign Myers Leonard. Right? Let's say you have him on a 10-day, you convert him to a full contract. Okay, well, now you're at 13. You still need 2 other guys. Right? Even if you find somebody else on a 10-day, let's say John Wall, right? Okay, you bring John Wall in on a 10-day. It's like, oh, he's looking great. Okay, let's keep him. Right? Okay, well, now you got to 14. You still got to fill out that 15 spot. Well, you already have your center, you already have your guard, you already have let's just bring up the G League guy. Let's just bring up the two-way guy, have him just at the end of the bench as our 15th guy, and now we're ready to go. And then if at any spot, in any moment, he's a guy that could step in and play a role. He's older, so he's a guy that's going to have a little more comfortability. He's also a guy that has NBA minutes and has played in NBA games, right? So, if you're in the playoffs and, knock on wood, heaven forbid, you have to, it's like, man, we got to, you have the strain of injuries or something. It's like, who would you rather trust? A guy that is 27, that has experience, that, again, he's not he wasn't like a starter on a championship team or anything like that, but he's a guy that has some level of NBA experience, some level of NBA understanding, played meaningful minutes for the Cavs and the Knicks in specific roles and stuff. So he's a guy that at least can come in and have an understanding to kind of fill that void in that spot, as opposed to, like, you know, say a Dmoi Hodge where, you know, he's never been in this environment. He hasn't really played actual NBA games. He doesn't really have any actual NBA minutes under his belt. It's like now he's coming in and you're expecting him to be a superstar. I mean, I understand he's played like garbage time and stuff like that, but I'm talking about like actually playing in games in, like, you know, in a rotation role, right? Things like that. I would rather give me the guy that has done that. Again, you're probably in trouble either way at that point, but you know, it is something that is it's something that you're hoping, okay, well, maybe he can provide whatever need, whatever void, whatever role, right? So I lean towards it's probably Zach LaVine that's coming if it comes. I think that this is, again, I'm not saying like, you know, lock it in, all right? Like, I'm not saying anything along those lines. I'm not saying like, oh, this guarantees that a trade is coming, but it is very interesting, right? Because usually you want your two-way guys to be your development guys and your pieces that you think are valuable for the future. And to me, Dylan Windler looks like a guy that makes more sense for right now, right? He looks like a guy that looks like, okay, he can fill in spots, rebound, has some NBA minutes, like that. That's kind of where I lie with that. And again, if you're going to go trade for Zach, even if it's not Zach, let's say it's DeJounte Murray, right? You're still probably trading 2 or 3 guys to go get him, right? So you're still, regardless, you're going to need, because the Lakers don't have like a $25 million contract to go and trade for guys. So anybody that's, you know, 25 million or more, you're going to have to trade 2 or 3 guys for. Or actually, anybody that's 20 million or more, you're probably going to have to trade 2 or 3 guys for. So you need to find bodies to kind of fill in that role, and you need to find them cheap. And at that point, again, you don't need bodies that are going to play meaningful minutes. You just need bodies that can come in and round out a bench, right? And that's what I think Dylan Windler would be. He'd be a guy that comes in and rounds out a bench. And so, I don't know, I just think it's interesting. Again, I'm not saying don't take this as like, oh, you know, this means something major's coming. I don't know that for a fact. I don't know that for certain. I just think that this is a very interesting, like, I understand he just came out, he just had a monster game, a 23 and 33 game, but usually they're like, I understand potential, but there are all kinds of guys in the G League and various leagues and all kinds of stuff that have like monster games, monster moments here and there. So either the Lakers have really liked him for a long time and they were just kind of trying to find an excuse to go sign him, or something else is coming, right? Something else. It's like, okay, well, all right, we're going to make a trade. We're going to need some bodies. This guy, he's a guy that makes sense. He's older. I like his game. Let's bring him in, right? That's kind of how I'm looking at that. That's kind of the way that I see this playing out. Because again, it's just like, okay, like, so that one game is the reason you were off of Fudge for him when Fudge is like 19 years old, right? He has plenty of time to develop. I mean, you could develop him for the next 7 years and he'd be younger than what Windler is, right? You could literally spend 7 years doing nothing but having him shoot and work on his game, and he'd be younger than Windler is. So it's just kind of like, are you really going for that guy? Like, you know, this is a guy that's supposed to be in his prime. It's like, well, if you just need him to fill a bench role, right? Okay, then that's perfect. And then he's a guy that has experience to where, you know, you can have it. That just makes sense to me. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you think, like, yeah, this is a great sign? This is probably means a trade is coming? Do you think no? Again, I feel what your thoughts are. I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.